Well, shit. I think I'm going to be super washed out today. I got the sun behind me. I'm going to be dark as fuck. Guns! Alright, if you're offended by that word or the topic of guns, you should just go ahead and turn this video off right now. Just go ahead, I'll wait. Okay. The topic came up today about the water gun emoji on the beta for the Apple iOS 10. There's a lot of people running the public beta out there now, and there's been a lot of posts on the internet about how the water gun has replaced the revolver emoji in iOS 10. And there's a lot of both support and arguments against that. I think it's kind of funny. So apparently, and don't let my pseudo research fool you into thinking I research the topics I complain about all the time, because I don't. Apparently, what it was is there was like a group in New York, like New Yorkers Against Gun Violence or something like that. I don't mind standing up for what you believe in. I think it's a great thing to do, and standing up against gun violence, I mean, I'm all for that. Go for it. I mean, I don't think we should have to worry about those kind of things. Unfortunately, we do have to worry about those kind of things. So what happened is, somebody created a hashtag, what was it? Hashtag disarm the iPhone, I think. And I couldn't help but think, why are we targeting a specific device? Aren't there other devices that have emoji that have guns? And why, if we're so upset about gun violence and just violence in general, why haven't we petitioned to remove, the swords and the bombs and the cigarette emoji, things like that? I mean, there are things out there that are worse than gun violence. I mean, it's not something that most people think about, but forgive me my statistics again. I don't research most of my rants, so I don't expect me to have any real facts. Go check them yourself. But drunk driving kills far more people than gun violence every year, if I remember correctly. So why don't we remove the car emoji from emoji? I know, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? I mean, like...
Well, it's just a car.
Right. I get that. And a gun is just a gun, unless it's put in the hands of somebody who wants to use it for bad things. Right? I mean, when was the last time you heard of a gun sitting on a porch just shooting people by itself? That doesn't happen. You can't do... It doesn't work that way. What I'm going to get at here is I'm all for having a water gun emoji actually replacing a revolver emoji or a realistic gun emoji. That's fine, but give us the option. You know what I mean? Like they've done with the people emojis, or they've provided more like a Simpsons-like yellow hue to the skin color to be kind of a ubiquitous thing. But they also provide options for a wide spectrum of different ethnic backgrounds in emoji now, and because it was asked for, which is great. So I'm a little curious why removing the gun emoji from the iPhone was such a big topic. What if I'm offended that it's removed because it represses my freedom of speech? Maybe I want to use a real gun emoji. I don't want to use a water gun emoji. And I think removing the gun emoji because it promotes gun violence is about as absurd as removing the car emoji because drunk driving kills so many people. Now, a lot of people, again, I mean, as I've said in some other videos and things, of course, because I'm from Texas, I'm a right-wing gun nut, because that's just how it has to be if you're in Texas, obviously. But I feel like I stand somewhere in the middle on gun ownership and gun laws and things like that. I honestly don't have a problem with more background checks, or maybe even going through a class before you can own a handgun, things like that. I'm not opposed to that. I'm really not. I don't think that they should all be taken away. I do agree that certain people shouldn't have guns, but we don't know who those people are most of the time, unfortunately, until something bad happens. Guns and cars can be strangely related pretty closely, actually, I feel like. So, if you think about it this way, some people shouldn't be allowed to drive cars. They just shouldn't. You know what I'm talking about. Some people are bad at driving cars. It can be anybody. Hell, it's probably me. If you've ever driven behind me, you probably think that asshole shouldn't have a license. And you'd probably be right. But It's very similar. I mean, a car is just as deadly as a gun in the wrong hands. What was it, Timothy McVeigh? You know, he stocked up a bunch of fertilizer basically in the back of a moving truck and blew it up. I think it was Timothy McVeigh. See, there goes my fact checking again. Don't get me started. I mean, again, drunk driving kills tons of people every year. There was an argument I once heard about putting a value on a human life, and most people would agree that you can't put a value on human life. You can't do it because a human life is invaluable. You know, we always like to believe that that's the case. The problem is the argument that I overheard was something similar to this.
You can't put a value on human life.
I disagree, and I can prove it.
Okay, let's hear what you got.
If we have that much of a problem with cars, why don't we do this? Let's not ban cars. Let's not take cars away from everybody. That would be ridiculous, right? Instead, why don't we put a limiting feature on the car? Most of them already have them, especially the current cars. They have electronic limiters that tell the vehicle it can only go so fast before it either cuts the fuel or cuts the ignition to burn fuel. What if we just program that to 5 miles an hour?
Well, that would be ridiculous. That would defeat the purpose of having a car.
If we put a 5 mile an hour limiter on cars, vehicles in general, it would drastically cut down on the amount of deaths related to vehicles. So what you're telling me is that you wouldn't be inconvenienced to save thousands of lives. So the value of a human life to you is inconvenience. Let's think about that for a second. That's pretty harsh. So a lot of people would very similarly react to that in saying, well, putting governors to 5 miles an hour on cars, like we might as well go back to horse-drawn buggies or jogging everywhere. Well, yeah, I mean, really, it would be about as good as that. I mean, a car wouldn't be much value to most people if it could only go 5 miles an hour. But what we're trying to say is that, you know, getting rid of cars because of the havoc that they can cause makes about as much sense as restricting gun ownership because of the damage it can cause. But again, law enforcement can only enforce the law when it's actively being broken, really. And there's a lot of argument about that too. I mean, you know, people get pulled over because they look like they might be up to no good. If you're in a car traveling 80 miles an hour in a 65 mile an hour zone, you're wearing ski masks and you've got an AK-47 in the back of your car, you're probably going to get pulled over. And not nicely. You're probably going to be pulled over at gunpoint. Especially if you're in the area that just so happened to have a call on an armed bank robbery or something to that effect. So we have to evaluate the circumstances around why things are happening. And removing a gun emoji from an iPhone because you don't agree with gun violence doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. You would need to remove all gun emoji from everything everywhere. And we could see removing the gun emoji from the iPhone is the first step toward removing, potential gun violence through text and emoji. But again, where's the line drawn when it comes to what I'm allowed to do as a citizen of the United States of America? If I believe so strongly in my freedom of speech that I think it's being infringed upon because you're removing something that I use every day to talk about, politics or things in the news, sure, you can remove a gun emoji, but I can still use the word gun. Are you going to remove that from vocabulary? Are you going to take away the word gun from the English language? Is it going to be misunderstood in the next decade because everybody just doesn't say the word gun anymore? Is that going to help gun violence go away by not calling it a gun? No, it's not. I think it's ridiculous. Who needs segues? I'm going to talk about a completely different topic, and so I like to do impersonations. I have people at work that I goof off with a lot, and y'all have heard one of my impersonations of Herbert the Pervert from Family Guy in one of my previous videos. My impersonations are something that I'm always goofing around with, trying to get better at whatever. And the other day I was actually reading an article about what not to do when you visit Ireland. I'm particularly interested in visiting Ireland, actually. I have some family lineage, probably from centuries ago back there, but I have Irish, Scottish, Russian, German. I'm kind of a Heinz 57 of ethnic backgrounds, but I would love to visit Ireland. I've seen pictures of Ireland. I've got friends and friends' families who've gone to visit Ireland, and they always come back with some of the most beautiful photos. And I'm super, super jealous. I would love to go. It looks amazing. And I watch a lot of YouTube. Who doesn't anymore nowadays? But I watch a couple of Irish YouTubers. There's that leather jacket guy, Jacksepticeye, one of the gamers. There's a couple of them floating around out there I'm particularly fond of. And I've come to try to mimic kind of an Irish accent. So one of the things they said in this article is, never to try to mimic the Irish accent. I mean, think about it. Let's see if I can do this here. If everybody was to walk around and try and speak with an Irish accent, it'd sound fucking ridiculous. You go to Ireland and you try and speak like you're from Ireland, and they're going to look at you like you're fucking nuts. Because you probably are.
Oh, everybody talks like fucking leprechauns and their voice will high. Come and take me pot of gold. Everybody says, welcome, top of the morning to you, laddies.
Now, Jacksepticeye does that, but he does it well, and he pulls it off, and it's kind of because they don't say that he says that. It's that stereotypical thing. But anyway, I like to do impersonations, and you might catch me doing them every now and then as I'm kind of goofing off. But again, guys, thanks for watching. If you're subscribed, you'll get those notifications and say, hey, this idiot posted another bullshit video.